There's been quite a lot of talk about an upcoming AI jobs apocalypse. Rather melodramatic, isn't it? But let's have a think about what is happening and will happen. So, at the moment, most companies haven't done that much about AI from a corporate side. So, they're at, for example, pilot stages with some automations, but most of the work has been done kind of bottom up, what they call shadow AI. So employees have worked out how to do things themselves. Because the way AI has been released is a little bit like, for example, a smartphone. So, smartphones or the iPhone, when it first came out, this was a consumer product. So when Steve Jobs first launched this wasn't something that companies were going to buy millions of and distribute them to all of their employees and tell their employees how to use it. We all rather worked out how to use these ourselves, didn't we? And of course, we have one, and all of our work is based on it. But this is something that we load up with our favorite apps, with our personal things. And the same with most kind of chatbots. We're already doing this, aren't we? In the same kind of behavior. We use AI, generative AI, in our own private lives. We use it in our business, but more as a personal consumer thing. So, what companies haven't done enough yet is to say, okay, top down, these are the automations we're going to try and achieve. We even look at what shadow use is already there, AI, people using AIs in secret in the office, and what kind of cost savings, efficiency gains would we be targeting in a structured way as a company? So, 2025 is the year of implementation, but most companies are doing something, certainly plan to do something, but a lot of it's just pilot stage at the moment. And that's actually partly due to the fault of the technology. The technology still isn't quite easy enough. If we're looking at the big tech players, so someone like AWS had something called Studio Q about even a year ago, which was a great vision. So an orchestration AI would sit over all of your work applications. So it would look at all of your share drives, your emails, your ERP system, your CRM system, all of your old documents, and it would intelligently understand those and would start helping you be more efficient in business. You have things like Google Agent Space. You've got Microsoft doing a lot with Copilot agent spaces as well. But these are all still quite manual. You have to specify an agent, quite carefully build it, put it into a workflow, and it's all quite kind of clumpy at the moment. So what will happen when this kind of AI orchestration layer becomes available? Then companies will suddenly be able to do all of this quite easily. So they'll have had a motivation to do it. They've seen their employees do some of it. They've tested a pilot, but they're not quite ready to commit yet. I think what will happen towards the end of 2025 is companies will have had long enough to think about it and observe the things I've just mentioned. Plus, the technology is going to converge at the same point to be really easy to use. So an AI orchestration agent, you'd look at a department, for example, the finance department, and say, look, okay, here's our structure at the moment. We have a CFO who's still got to make some strategic decisions. That person's got to stay. But then we have the other functions within this. We have consolidation accounting, management accounting, compliance, taxation, and all of these are basically possible to give to AI agents in a structure. There may be some people involved, but those job descriptions radically change in terms of working with the AI to guide it and to check it. So, in those scenarios, what happens to jobs? Well, you could easily, in a lot of white collar jobs, imagine, let's say, 90% job cuts in companies. And when one company starts doing this in a sector, other companies would tend to follow. Not just copying, but it's also things like pricing pressure, competitive pressure is going to basically force them into this. So we're seeing just a slight kind of trickle of automation activity from AI. Already a lot is possible. Even if the technology stopped today, for the next 5 years, companies would still be automating, but obviously the technology is going exponentially fast. So this pace is going to go from a trickle to a sudden flood. And that is going to cause massive job dislocation. We already see the first twitches of this. So you've got about, depending on which continent, but you've often got in somewhere like Asia about 30% of companies doing something more serious with AI, going down to about 10% in Europe. But when those numbers go up, then you're going to see much more pressure on the job market. Already you hear about young people struggling to get work, certain sectors disproportionately affected, anyone in copywriting, graphic design, anything that could have been done as a remote job is already a little bit under threat. And you've got some big examples of some of the tech firms who tend to kind of lead the field in terms of automation and transformation. They're already cutting staff quite heavily and doing hiring freezes. But by the end of this year, this is going to get quite significantly more. So companies are going to be forced to do it. Companies always have to do cost control, because if the market's doing it, if your competitors are doing it, you have to do it as well. And that's something they are very used to doing. So when the technology is available to do it, they will do it. There will be some compassion, there will be some attempts to reskill people, and there should be. But I think from an individual perspective, what could people do as employees? Well, firstly, obviously, get to know AI yourself and how to use it properly, especially at the agent level. That will protect you to some extent, because imagine if, let's say, 90% of the jobs go, the 10% remaining jobs are going to be AI first jobs. They're going to be whatever it is in manufacturing, in finance, in marketing. One of the primary skills will be how to orchestrate AIs. So obviously protect yourself by learning that to a good level now. And AI is a great tutor as well. Keep an eye on the new technology as it's coming along. For companies, well, pay more attention, remove some of the hesitation, and wait for, to some extent, the technology to be really there before making the very big moves, but certainly start already with some pilot projects, with looking at what your employees are already doing with the so-called shadow AI. Your employees have already worked this out, and the job turnover rate out there is one of the lowest in a long time. Employees kind of get a feeling that if they can automate their job this easily, it's only a matter of time before their employer realizes as well. So big changes coming ahead. Obviously, anything to do with job losses is not a good one. But this is something that people have to be aware of, companies to survive and people to give themselves the best chances going forward.